Ancient civilizations possessed technologies that defy our modern understanding. We are about to explore 25 baffling ancient inventions and constructions that today's scientists and engineers cannot replicate. This journey will reveal a lost world of impossible engineering and forgotten science. You will discover evidence that could completely reshape your view of human history. How did people cut stones with laser-like precision thousands of years ago? What was the secret behind a weapon that burned on water? By the end, you will see the ancient world not as primitive, but as a place of profound and mysterious knowledge. How much of our past remains hidden from us? The intricate bronze gears of the Antikythera Mechanism reveal a level of mechanical genius that should not have existed 2,000 years ago. Recovered from the depths of the sea, this artifact is not merely a collection of cogs and wheels. It is a complex orrery, a mechanical model of the solar system that could calculate the positions of the sun, the moon, and the planets. It even predicted eclipses and marked the dates of major athletic games like the Olympics. The device functioned as a hand-cranked astronomical calculator, a true analog computer. Its most stunning feature is a differential gear, an arrangement of gears that allows for the computation of rotational speeds. This technology was believed to have been invented for the modern automobile, not for a Hellenistic Greek instrument. The precision of its manufacture is what truly stuns modern engineers. Each tiny bronze gear, some no larger than a coin, had its teeth cut with such accuracy that they meshed perfectly, translating celestial movements into a silent, ticking dance of metal. Recreating this device today requires advanced computer modeling and precision tools, raising a profound question. If the ancient Greeks could build this, what other technological wonders were lost to history, their secrets swallowed by time and tide? While our modern world is built with concrete, our own version seems almost fragile in comparison. We watch as our bridges and buildings require constant repair, often succumbing to the elements within just a few decades. Now look at the Roman Pantheon. This monumental structure has sheltered people for over 2,000 years, its vast, unsupported dome a permanent fixture against the Roman sky. It has withstood earthquakes, harsh weather, and the relentless passage of time, not with quiet decay, but with a strength that seems to actively defy it. The secret was in their recipe, a lost formula that turned simple ingredients into a kind of stone magic. The Romans mixed lime and volcanic ash, then added seawater, triggering a chemical reaction that modern scientists have only recently begun to understand. This process creates incredibly rare minerals within the concrete, minerals with long, complex names like aluminous tobamorite. These minerals are the key. They form needle-like crystals that interlock, creating a structure that is actually tougher than the original mix. Even more incredible, when tiny cracks form, exposure to rainwater or moisture allows new chemical reactions to fill those gaps, effectively healing the wound. This self-repairing stone is something our best laboratories cannot replicate. We can identify the components, but the precise ratios, the mixing technique, the exact conditions of its creation, all of that ancient industrial knowledge is gone. The concrete we make today simply does not behave this way. It is a passive material destined to weaken. Roman concrete was an active, living material designed to grow stronger for centuries. It stands as a silent challenge to our own assumptions of progress, a testament to a forgotten science of endurance that we are still struggling to rediscover. European crusaders returned from the Holy Land with tales not just of conquest, but of a weapon that defied all logic. They spoke of swords so sharp they could cleave a silk scarf in midair, so flexible they could bend from hilt to tip without breaking, and so resilient they could shatter the finest European steel armor upon impact. These were the legendary blades of Damascus Steel. Forged in the Middle East from the 3rd to the 17th centuries, these weapons were as beautiful as they were deadly, marked by a distinctive, watery pattern on their surface, like a frozen stream. Modern science, using electron microscopes, has revealed a secret within that pattern. The metal contains carbon nanotubes, structures so advanced we associate them with modern nanotechnology. These microscopic tubes, formed within the steel's matrix, gave the blades their incredible combination of hardness and flexibility, a property modern metallurgists call toughness. The process began with Wootz steel, a special high-carbon steel ingot imported from India. The blacksmiths would then subject this raw material to a secretive and precise cycle of heating, hammering, and most crucially, a very controlled cooling process. It was this specific thermal cycling, a dance of fire and patience, that coaxed the carbon into forming those miraculous nanotubes and created the iconic wavy patterns. Today, we can analyze the finished product and identify its components, but the exact smelting technique, the precise temperatures, and the rhythmic hammering methods remain a complete mystery. The knowledge vanished when the trade routes for the special Wootz iron ore were disrupted, and the specific mines were exhausted. We are left with the legend and the few surviving blades, masterpieces of a lost art that our most advanced forges still cannot recreate. This profound loss of metallurgical genius makes the next mystery, one found deep within a South American jungle, all the more compelling. Yet another secret of metal and fire was lost to the flames of history, but the Byzantine Empire guarded a different kind of flame with even greater zeal. Greek fire was the ancient world's ultimate naval superweapon, a substance so terrifying it could set the very sea ablaze. Imagine the horror of an enemy fleet watching as a stream of liquid fire, launched from bronze tubes on Byzantine ships, arced across the water. Upon impact, it did not sizzle out. It clung to everything it touched: wood, sails, and especially the water itself, creating an inescapable inferno that could not be doused. Historical accounts describe sailors throwing water on the flames only to see them burn more fiercely, as if they were feeding the fire. For over 7 centuries, this weapon secured Byzantine naval dominance, a technological advantage so profound its formula was considered a state secret of the highest order. Emperors passed the knowledge only to their heirs, and the exact mixture was so closely guarded that when the empire finally fell, the secret died with it. Modern chemists have proposed countless recipes, suggesting ingredients like crude petroleum, quicklime, pine resin, or even saltpeter. Yet every modern attempt to recreate it has failed to produce a substance that matches the terrifying properties described in ancient texts. Nothing we have made can reliably burn on water with such persistence and intensity, resisting all efforts to extinguish it. This was not mere napalm. It was a sophisticated chemical weapon born from a deep, and now entirely lost, understanding of pyrotechnics. The mystery of Greek fire forces us to ask what other advanced chemical knowledge, what other formulas for control over the natural world, vanished when the libraries of antiquity burned and empires turned to dust. High in the Andes Mountains, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman guards the skyline above Cusco with a silent, imposing presence. Its walls are a breathtaking puzzle composed of enormous limestone blocks, some heavier than 100 tons. These stones are not simple rectangles. They are massive, irregular polygons, each one carved with complex angles and curves that interlock with its neighbors like a 3-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. The fit is so impossibly precise that for centuries people have said not even the thinnest razor blade can be slipped between them. This was not mere decoration. This was engineering on a staggering scale, designed to endure, and endure it has. For hundreds of years, this region has been shaken by powerful earthquakes. Modern buildings in the city below have crumbled, yet these ancient walls have not shifted an inch. Their complex, interlocking shapes absorb and distribute the Earth's violent energy, a seismic defense system carved in stone. The mystery deepens when you consider how this was accomplished. The Inca are not known to have used the wheel, iron tools, or even mortar. How did they quarry, transport, and shape these colossal stones with nothing but harder stones, bronze, and copper? The surfaces are smooth, showing no signs of chisel marks. The prevailing theory suggests that stonemasons painstakingly pounded the rock with stone hammers, gradually shaping it over countless hours. But this does not fully explain the mirror-like perfection of the joints or the intricate, rounded corners found throughout the complex. The sheer logistical feat of moving these blocks across rugged mountain terrain without wheels or draft animals is a puzzle in itself. Modern engineers, armed with all our technology and knowledge, look upon this site with a sense of profound humility. We can appreciate the result, but we cannot replicate the process. The method remains one of archaeology's most enduring secrets, a testament to a lost school of stonemasonry that understood stone not as a dead material, but as something to be conversed with, fitted together with a precision that defies time itself. This mastery over massive stone is not unique to the Andes, and it forces us to look across the oceans to another island of impossible construction. Navigating the featureless gray expanse of the North Atlantic was a feat that should have been impossible for the Vikings. Without a magnetic compass under skies perpetually choked with cloud and fog, their journeys to Iceland and Greenland seemed like acts of pure luck or reckless bravery. But Norse sagas speak of a tool that made it possible, a magical solarstein or sunstone. This was no mere legend. Modern science has uncovered a stunning truth behind the myth. The Vikings likely used crystals of a transparent mineral called calcite, also known as Iceland spar. When you look through a calcite crystal, a remarkable thing happens. The light splits into two beams, a phenomenon known as polarization. By rotating the stone and observing how the brightness of these twin images changed, a skilled navigator could pinpoint the exact position of the sun, even when it was completely hidden behind the cloud. The crystal essentially revealed the sun's invisible signature in the sky's scattered light. Laboratory experiments have proven this method is startlingly accurate, capable of determining the sun's location to within a single degree. This was a form of celestial navigation using a polarized light compass, a concept so advanced it feels out of place in the Viking Age. Yet for all our understanding of the principle, we are missing the practical manual. No such crystal has ever been found on a Viking shipwreck or in a navigator's grave. We do not know how the stones were mounted or held, what specific viewing techniques were used, or how this information was combined with their knowledge of seabirds, wave patterns, and whale migrations. We have validated the science but lost the art, the hands-on skill that turned a piece of rock into a gateway to the new world. This sophisticated understanding of optics hints at a scientific curiosity that history often denies them, a puzzle that makes another oceanic civilization's achievements, born in a very different part of the world, even more perplexing. A world away from the Viking seas, in the sands of ancient Mesopotamia, a different kind of power was possibly being harnessed, unearthed from a 2,000-year-old archaeological site near Baghdad. A collection of peculiar objects tells a silent, cryptic story. Each one is a simple clay jar, no larger than a hand, but inside each jar rests a rolled copper sheet forming a cylinder, and within that cylinder sits an iron rod. The two metals are kept separate from each other, a clear sign of intentional design. To some researchers, this arrangement is unmistakable. It is the fundamental blueprint of a battery, a primitive galvanic cell. The principle is simple chemistry. If this jar were filled with an acidic electrolyte, something as common as vinegar or grape juice, a chemical reaction would begin. The acidic liquid would interact with the two different metals, causing electrons to flow from the iron rod to the copper cylinder. This would create a small but measurable electrical current, enough to produce a faint tingle or a very low voltage. Modern scientists have built exact replicas and confirmed it works, generating just over 1 volt of electricity. The great and unresolved mystery is not whether it could produce power, but why. What possible use could a 2,000-year-old civilization have for a single volt of electricity? Some theories suggest it was used for electroplating, to deposit a thin layer of gold or silver onto other objects, a process that requires a mild electrical current. Others propose a more mystical purpose, perhaps using the subtle current for medicinal or religious experiences, a sensation that might have been interpreted as magic. The controversy among archaeologists is deep. Skeptics argue it could have been a sacred storage vessel for scrolls, and the electrical property is merely a coincidence. Yet the design is so eerily specific to the function of a battery that the coincidence seems staggering. Whether it was a tool, a toy, or a temple object, the Baghdad Battery forces a profound question upon us. Was this a one-off curiosity, a chance discovery that was never developed, or is it a single surviving clue to a much broader, lost understanding of electrical principles? How many other such artifacts have we simply mislabeled or misunderstood, their true purpose erased by time? This potential for lost knowledge makes the next mystery, one etched into impossibly hard stone, all the more difficult to explain. Moving from potential electricity to undeniable physical force, the stonework of ancient Egypt presents a different kind of shock. Inside the sarcophagus at the Great Pyramid, or on the surfaces of massive granite statues, you can find small, circular holes. These are not rough boreholes, they are the remnants of a tube drilling process, and they tell a story of impossible power and precision. When archaeologists examined core samples extracted from these drill sites, they were met with a profound mystery. The granite cores themselves are marked with perfectly uniform spiral grooves running the length of the stone. The spacing of these grooves is so consistent, so mechanically even, that it suggests a single, unrelenting force was applied. This is not the jagged, erratic scarring you would get from a hand-powered drill wobbling under human force. This pattern indicates a drill bit that was turning at an astonishingly high speed, with a tremendous and constant downward pressure, biting into the stone with a feed rate that modern engineers would associate with powered machinery. The stone in question is not soft limestone, but granite and diorite, some of the hardest rocks on the planet. To cut into them this way requires a tool harder than the stone itself. Our best theories suggest the Egyptians used copper drill tubes with a slurry of sand and water as an abrasive. But when modern craftsmen try to replicate this method, the results are disappointing and telling. The copper tube wears away far faster than the granite, and the resulting grooves are uneven and shallow. The ancient drill holes, by contrast, are deep, clean, and show a feed rate, the speed at which the drill bit advanced into the stone, that is many times greater than anything achievable with manual labor and primitive tools. The inescapable implication is that the ancient Egyptians possessed a drilling technology that was somehow lost, a method that applied forces and speeds comparable to our own diamond-tipped industrial drills. How did they achieve such a thing without electricity or steel? This mastery over the most stubborn materials hints at a manufacturing secret that has completely vanished from history, a level of technical skill that seems to belong to a different timeline altogether. The silent language of the Phaistos Disc speaks only in riddles. Unearthed in a Minoan palace on the island of Crete, this simple fired clay disc is one of archaeology's most enduring and elegant puzzles. Dated to the 2nd millennium BC, its surface is covered on both sides with a continuous spiral of strange, stamped symbols. There are men walking, women with elaborate hairstyles, shields, birds, and flowers, 45 distinct signs in total, arranged in 241 impressions. The method of its creation is what makes it a true technological marvel. Each symbol was not carved by hand. Instead, they were stamped onto the soft clay using individual, pre-formed seals like a printer's type. This is the earliest known use of a movable type printing system in human history, a revolutionary concept that would not be reinvented for another 3,000 years. Yet, for all its technological sophistication, its message is utterly lost. No other artifact bearing this script has ever been found. The language it represents is unknown, and the sequence of symbols resists every attempt at decoding, from sophisticated computer algorithms to countless theories proposing it is a prayer, a story, or a legal document. Why was this technology, so far ahead of its time, created and then completely abandoned? Why was this single disc preserved when the knowledge behind it vanished without a trace? It stands as a solitary island of innovation, a brief, brilliant flash of an idea whose time had not yet come, reminding us that a civilization's greatest advances can be so fragile, so easily erased from memory. This profound mystery of a lost writing system connects to another, found not on clay but etched into the very landscape of a distant continent. 2,000 years ago, a Chinese scholar solved a problem we still grapple with today. In the year 132, the imperial court astronomer Zhang Heng presented the emperor with a magnificent and mysterious object, a large bronze vessel adorned with 8 dragons, each one looking down at a bronze frog with an open mouth. This was not a ceremonial art piece. It was the world's first seismoscope, an earthquake detector of astonishing accuracy. Historical records tell us that on one occasion, a dragon dropped its bronze ball into a frog's mouth with a loud clang, signaling a quake. Yet no one in the capital had felt a tremor. Skeptics dismissed the device as a failure until days later, when a messenger arrived from a province hundreds of miles to the west, reporting a major earthquake that had struck at the exact moment the dragon had released its ball. The device had not only detected the quake, it had also indicated the direction from which the seismic waves had originated. The internal mechanism of Zhang Heng's device is a secret lost to time. The bronze original has not survived, and modern scientists have been trying to reverse engineer it for decades. The prevailing theory suggests a pendulum was suspended inside the vessel. When seismic waves arrived, the pendulum would swing, triggering a clever system of levers and linkages that would push open the jaws of just one dragon, the one facing the epicenter of the quake. The true genius, however, lies in its sensitivity. Recreating this device with only the materials and principles available in the 2nd century has proven incredibly difficult. Recent experiments using models that rely on inertia rather than a pendulum have shown promise, but none have fully matched the historical accounts of its reliability and long-distance detection. How did Zhang Heng achieve such precision without any modern understanding of seismology or electronics? His device stands as a masterpiece of intuitive mechanical engineering, a silent sentinel that watched for the tremors of the Earth with a sophistication that would not be seen again for 17 centuries. This profound understanding of the planet's hidden movements raises a new question. What other ancient technologies were designed to listen to the whispers of the natural world, and how many of those secrets are still buried, waiting to be heard? The desert floor itself becomes a canvas in Peru, but one whose grand design is invisible to the artists who created it. The Nazca Lines are a gallery of giants etched into the arid plains, depicting a hummingbird with wings outstretched, a spider with impossibly long legs, a monkey with a coiled tail, and geometric shapes so vast they stretch to the horizon. These are not small sketches. Some figures are longer than 3 football fields placed end to end, their lines running straight and true for miles across the rugged terrain. The method of their creation seems deceptively simple. The Nazca people, over 1,000 years ago, carefully removed the top layer of dark, sun-baked pebbles to reveal the lighter, sandy soil underneath, creating a stark contrast that has endured for centuries. The profound mystery is not in the materials but in the perspective. From the ground, you see only shallow trenches and walked paths. The full, magnificent image of the animal or the perfect form of a trapezoid only reveals itself when viewed from hundreds of feet in the air. This presents an impossible problem. How did the Nazca, without flight, without hot air balloons, design and execute these colossal artworks with such flawless proportions and straight lines? They could never have seen their own work in its entirety. Some theories suggest they used simple surveying techniques, perhaps with ropes and stakes to create small sections at a time, scaling up a master design from the ground. Others propose they built viewing platforms on nearby hills, but even these would not provide the high-altitude vantage point needed to appreciate the scale and correct the curvature of a 1,200-foot-long pelican. The precision is simply staggering, a feat of projective geometry that feels anachronistic. Were these sacred pathways for ritual processions, a celestial calendar aligned with the stars, or messages intended for gods in the sky? The purpose is as elusive as the method. We are left with a landscape-sized paradox, a masterpiece of art and engineering whose creators could never behold their own genius, leaving us to wonder if the true meaning of the Nazca Lines is forever locked in a perspective we are still struggling to attain. While we struggle to understand corrosion on our own modern structures, a single iron pillar in India has defied this relentless process for 16 centuries. The iron pillar of Delhi stands over 23 feet tall, a solid testament to an ancient and forgotten science of metal. Forged around the year 400 CE, this colossal column should be a mass of flaky, red rust. Yet its surface remains smooth and uncorrupted, bearing only a thin, dark protective patina. The secret to its immortality lies in this very film, a passive layer that scientists have identified as mesawite. This is a complex compound of iron, oxygen, and hydrogen that acts as a perfect, self-repairing shield against the elements. Modern science can identify the layer, but we cannot replicate the specific conditions that created it so perfectly on such a massive scale. The mystery deepens with the metal itself. Chemical analysis reveals the iron is astonishingly pure, with a remarkably low amount of sulfur and manganese, the usual impurities that weaken ancient iron. Instead, it has an unusually high phosphorus content. It was this precise, accidental or intentional chemical recipe that allowed the protective mesawite layer to form over years of exposure. The high phosphorus acted as a catalyst, reacting with the iron and the environment to grow that perfect protective skin. But how did ancient blacksmiths achieve such purity? They were working with small furnaces that typically produced crude, impure blooms of iron. The manufacturing process that could create such a massive, homogeneous, and pure iron object is a complete enigma. We are left with a profound question. Was this pillar a one-in-a-million fluke, a happy accident of local ore and unique weather? Or does it represent a standardized, lost technique for creating rust-proof iron on an industrial scale? If they could do this once, what other methods for preserving metal, for making it endure almost forever, have been erased from our collective memory. Deep within the crypts of the Dendera temple in Egypt, stone walls tell a story that seems to defy the conventional narrative. Carved into the sandstone are massive, bulbous objects, each containing a snake-like form stretching its length. These strange shapes are connected by what looks like a thick cable to a box held by a kneeling figure. To a modern eye, the resemblance to a light bulb is startling and immediate. The snake is the filament, the bulb is the glass enclosure, and the box is the power source. Proponents of this theory point to a practical and troubling mystery within the pyramids and tombs themselves. How were the vast, windowless inner chambers, covered in intricate, perfectly executed carvings, illuminated? The walls and ceilings show no traces of soot from torches or oil lamps, which would have been the only known light sources of the time. The absence of this residue is a silent, puzzling fact. Mainstream Egyptology offers a different interpretation, explaining these carvings as symbolic representations of a cosmic snake emerging from a lotus flower, a mythological scene of creation. They argue that applying our modern technological lens to ancient spiritual iconography is a fundamental mistake, yet the controversy itself is the real point. It highlights the immense difficulty we face when trying to understand a lost world through our own cultural and technological biases. Were these carvings merely spiritual metaphors, or were they schematic diagrams of a technology we have yet to comprehend? The idea of ancient electricity connecting the Baghdad Battery to the Dendera reliefs forces us to consider a startling possibility. What if our ancestors were not just mystical or primitive, but were also practical engineers who had tapped into forgotten forms of energy? This speculative leap from potential power to its possible application makes another ancient mystery, one found in the heart of a jungle, all the more compelling. A book exists that has stared down the world's greatest codebreakers for centuries and won. The Voynich Manuscript is a 240-page puzzle bound in vellum, its pages filled with a flowing, unknown script that has never been seen anywhere else. Written in the early 15th century, this is not a simple list or a crude drawing. It is a dense, beautifully illustrated book, separated into distinct sections that suggest a formal, scholarly purpose. There are pages dedicated to unidentifiable plants, specimens with twisting roots and leaves that do not match any known botanical family. There are astronomical charts showing constellations that are completely unfamiliar to modern astronomers. Most perplexing of all are the biological sections, which depict tiny, naked human figures, mostly female, bathing in or connected by intricate networks of tubes and vessels to strange, fluid-filled containers. The entire book radiates a sense of systematic, purposeful knowledge, yet every single page is a locked door. The script itself is the core of the mystery. It is composed of elegant, looping characters that show a clear and consistent structure, with what appear to be words, sentences, and paragraphs. Statistical analysis confirms it follows linguistic rules akin to a real language, with word repetition and letter frequency that feel natural and ordered. This is not random gibberish. It was written by someone who understood the system perfectly, and that system has defied every attempt to crack it, from medieval scholars to modern supercomputers and military cryptographers who broke enemy codes in wartime. They have all failed. The manuscript's resilience is what makes it so haunting. Is it an elaborate, meaningless hoax, a work of fiction created to deceive a wealthy patron? If so, the amount of labor involved is staggering, and the consistency of the fake language is a work of genius in itself. Or is it a codebook for a secret society, or a transcription of a lost language containing knowledge about botany, astronomy, and human biology that was considered too dangerous or too sacred for the common world? We simply do not know, The Voynich Manuscript is a stark reminder that the past is not always a puzzle we can solve. Some doors remain closed, their secrets kept by the silent, patient pages of a book that refuses to speak. Scattered across the river deltas and jungle floors of Costa Rica lie geometric perfections that seem to have fallen from the sky. These are the stone spheres of the Diquís culture, hundreds of nearly perfect stone balls that defy simple explanation. Ranging from the size of a melon to colossal orbs over 2 meters in diameter and weighing more than 16 tons, their creation spans over 1,000 years. The sheer precision is what stuns modern surveyors. Despite their massive size and the passage of centuries, many of these granite spheres are so perfectly formed that their diameter varies by less than 2 centimeters from a true sphere. How do you achieve such geometric purity with only stone hammers and fire? The prevailing theory suggests that the Diquís people first identified large boulders of suitable granite, then used controlled fires to heat the surface, followed by rapid cooling with water to create fractures. They would then painstakingly peck away at the stone with other, harder rocks, slowly shaping the sphere over generations. But this method alone does not fully account for the incredible final precision. How did they measure their progress without modern calipers or templates? How did they ensure the final form was not just round, but mathematically spherical? The mystery only deepens when we consider transportation. How were these multi-ton stones moved from their quarries through dense jungle and across rugged terrain to their final locations? The Diquís had no wheels, no draft animals, no metal tools. The arrangement of the spheres adds a final, cryptic layer. Many were found positioned in geometric patterns, aligning with celestial events or forming massive, ground-level astronomical maps. Were they cosmic calendars, markers of tribal authority, or symbols of a profound understanding of harmony and form that we can no longer decipher? Like the silent gears of the Antikythera Mechanism, these stone spheres are a physical echo of a lost way of thinking, a testament to an ancient obsession with precision that we can measure with our instruments but cannot replicate with their methods. Buried beneath a Scottish field for decades lies a slab of stone that holds an entire universe of carved riddles. The Cochno Stone is a massive 5,000-year-old artifact, its surface a breathtaking canvas of intricate symbols. Across its 30 feet of sandstone are deeply etched spirals that swirl into infinity, concentric circles that ripple outward, and thousands of so-called cup marks, small hemispherical depressions carved with painstaking care. To the untrained eye, it is a beautiful but chaotic abstract artwork. To some researchers, however, this is a sophisticated prehistoric code, a complex star map, or a cosmological diagram charting the heavens as our ancestors saw them. The patterns are not random. They display a remarkable mathematical precision and a recurring geometric language seen on other ancient stones across Europe, but never on such a grand and concentrated scale. Some theorists propose the spirals represent our swirling galaxy, while the arcs and circles chart the movements of the sun and moon over vast cycles of time. The true meaning, however, is locked away, a message from a pre-literate society that we lack the key to decipher. In 1965, after decades of exposure to weather and vandalism, archaeologists made the difficult decision to rebury the stone, protecting it for future generations but simultaneously sealing away one of Britain's greatest archaeological mysteries from direct study. This act of preservation has only deepened the enigma, leaving us with only photographs and casts to ponder its secrets. The Cochno Stone forces a humbling question. If this is indeed a map of the cosmos, what celestial knowledge was so important that it required such a monumental and permanent record? And why did the people who carved it choose to express that knowledge in a language of stone and symbol that we can no longer read? This profound desire to capture the sky in rock connects to another civilization that turned an entire valley into a permanent astronomical observatory. High on a desolate mountain in western China, a set of rust-colored pipes emerges from the stone as if the mountain itself were wired for some forgotten purpose. These are the Baigong pipes, a collection of metal tubes of varying diameters, some as narrow as a toothpick and others wider than a tree trunk, found embedded within rock that geologists date to millions of years old. Their location adds to the profound mystery, situated far from any known ancient civilization, in a region that has been uninhabited for all of recorded history. The pipes are not simply lying on the ground. They are integrated into the geology, running deep inside a mountain cave and emerging near a pristine alpine lake, suggesting a complex engineered system. Scientific analysis has only deepened the puzzle, revealing that the pipes are composed primarily of iron, but with a significant amount of silicon dioxide and calcium oxide. This specific metallurgical recipe resulted in a material that has resisted corrosion for an unknowable length of time. The most baffling detail is that the pipes show clear evidence of manufacturing, with their hollow, tubular form and seams that suggest they were crafted, not formed by any known natural process. Geologists who argue for a natural origin propose a theory of dendrite formation, where mineral-rich water seeps into rock fissures, and over eons, the minerals solidify and leave behind pipe-like casts once the surrounding rock erodes. Yet this explanation struggles to account for the sheer variety of pipe diameters, their precise tubular shapes, and the sophisticated chemical composition that is not native to the immediate area. The controversy itself is the heart of the matter, highlighting the immense challenge science faces when confronted with an object that simply does not fit the established timeline. If these are natural, they are a 1 in a billion geological fluke, but if they are artificial, their age proposes a staggering possibility that a technologically capable culture existed on Earth so long ago that all other traces of it have been utterly erased by geological time. This evidence of impossible antiquity forces us to confront a question that reshapes our entire view of history. How many other relics, dismissed as oddities of nature, are actually the last crumbling signatures of a world before our own? A hammer should not exist where it was found. In 1936, near the town of London, Texas, a curious discovery was made inside a rock that geologists dated to the Cretaceous period, over 100 million years old. Encased within the solid stone concretion was a simple tool, an iron hammer with a wooden handle. According to everything we know about history, this object is an impossibility. Dinosaurs roamed the Earth when this rock formed, millions of years before modern humans evolved, let alone learn to smelt iron and work wood. The hammer itself is a study in contradictions. The wooden handle is partially petrified, turned to stone, a process that requires immense age. The iron head, however, is what truly baffles metallurgists. Analysis has revealed its composition is unusually pure, with very low levels of impurities like sulfur and chlorine, and it shows a sophisticated internal structure that suggests a level of forging skill not seen until the industrial era. This is not a primitive, crude lump of metal. It is a well-made tool seemingly lost in deep time. Mainstream archaeology often classifies such out-of-place artifacts as hoaxes or misinterpretations, suggesting a more recent hammer simply became encased in a concretion of mineral deposits that only looks like ancient rock. Yet for many, this explanation feels incomplete. The concretion appears genuine, and the petrification of the wood suggests a significant passage of time. The London Hammer forces a confrontation with our own methods and assumptions. How secure are our techniques for dating the past? Could there be gaps in our timeline, entire chapters of human or even pre-human technological development that we have simply missed, their evidence buried in layers of stone we thought we understood? This single, humble tool challenges us to consider a radical possibility that our story of progress is not a straight line, but a cycle, with fragments of advanced knowledge rising and falling into utter obscurity, leaving behind only the most stubborn and enigmatic of clues. The true magic of the Lycurgus Cup reveals itself only when light passes through it. This 4th century Roman glass cage cup is a stunning piece of dichroic art, changing its color completely depending on how you view it. When lit from the front in reflected light, it glows a deep, opaque jade green, but hold it up to a light source and the entire vessel transforms, glowing a translucent, fiery ruby red. For centuries, this was considered a beautiful mystery of ancient glassmaking. Then, in the 1990s, scientists put slivers of the glass under powerful electron microscopes. What they discovered was breathtaking. The glass is infused with a precise mixture of gold and silver nanoparticles, each one smaller than a grain of sand, each one measuring about 70 nanometers across. These microscopic metal flecks are the key to the color change. They interact with light in a specific way, scattering green light when the light source is on the outside and allowing red light to pass through when the light comes from within the cup. The manufacturing process required to achieve this was nothing short of alchemy at the atomic level. Roman artisans had to melt the glass with a precise amount of ground gold and silver, then carefully reheat and cool the mixture in a controlled cycle. This painstaking process, known as annealing, coaxed the metal to precipitate out of the glass solution and form those perfectly sized nanoparticles. They were manipulating matter at a scale 1,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair, a scale we only began to understand with the invention of the electron microscope in the 1930s. They achieved nanotechnology without ever knowing what an atom was, guided purely by an empirical recipe passed down through generations of craftsmen. This was not a one-off fluke. We see the same principle at work in the carbon nanotubes woven into the matrix of Damascus Steel, giving it its legendary toughness. In both cases, ancient artisans were producing and harnessing microscopic structures to achieve macroscopic results. They possessed the how, the perfected technique, without understanding the why, the underlying physics. This forces a profound shift in perspective. We often assume technological progress is a straight line from ignorance to understanding, but the Lycurgus Cup suggests another path, one where meticulous observation and handed-down practice could achieve results so advanced that their scientific explanation would remain hidden for over a millennium. How many other ancient recipes, lost to us now, were actually detailed guides to manipulating the very building blocks of our world? Another landscape whispers of spheres shaped with impossible perfection. In the forests of Bosnia, a new and controversial chapter in this mystery has emerged. Scattered across the Zavodovicai Valley are dozens of massive stone spheres, some towering over 10 feet tall. They are colossal, weathered globes of stone, and a small group of researchers insists they are not natural accidents, but the largest and oldest man-made stone spheres on the planet. Their surfaces, though worn by millennia of rain and wind, retain a startlingly round contour. The sheer scale of the largest ones, estimated to weigh many tons, evokes an immediate sense of awe and disbelief. Could human hands have truly formed these giants? Mainstream geology offers a compelling counter-argument. These spheres, they say, are the result of a natural process called concretion. In this phenomenon, mineral cement precipitates and crystallizes around a central nucleus within sedimentary rock. slowly growing in all directions and often forming a spherical shape as it hardens. It is nature's own sculptor, creating perfect forms through simple chemistry over immense stretches of time. Yet the proponents of an artificial origin point to details that resist this simple explanation. They note the sphere's remarkable geometric precision, their arrangement in specific patterns, and the presence of what appear to be tool marks on some specimens. The controversy itself is the real story here, a fascinating collision between two ways of seeing the world. It forces us to ask a difficult question. Where do we draw the line between a wondrous natural formation and a lost artifact of human ingenuity? Our entire understanding of the past depends on this distinction. If we dismiss every ambiguous object as a freak of nature, we risk silencing the faint stone voices of a forgotten civilization. But if we see human intention in every curious shape, we risk constructing a fantasy. The Bosnian spheres live in this tense gray area, a permanent question mark carved in granite. They challenge our methods and our biases, reminding us that the Earth itself can create masterpieces that mock our own. This blurry boundary between the works of nature and the works of human hands makes another ancient site, one that seems to defy the very laws of physics, all the more bewildering. Sound itself was a tool for the ancient builders, a hidden dimension of their architecture. Deep beneath the island of Malta lies the Hal Saflieni Hypogeum, a labyrinthine underground temple carved from solid limestone over 5,000 years ago. Within this sacred space, a remarkable acoustic phenomenon occurs. One specific chamber, known as the Oracle Room, resonates at a frequency of 110 Hz. When a male voice speaks into this chamber, the sound does not merely echo. It amplifies and reverberates with a powerful, bone-deep vibration that seems to fill the entire space, a sensation that is both awe-inspiring and physically palpable. This is not an accident of construction. The entire complex is a carefully engineered sound box, with different chambers tuned to amplify different frequencies and create bizarre auditory effects, like whispers that can be heard clearly across vast distances. Modern acoustic engineers have studied the hypogeum with laser scanners and sophisticated equipment, confirming the precision of its sound-altering properties. The builders somehow understood the principles of resonance and wave interference, sculpting the very rock to manipulate sound in ways we would associate with a modern concert hall, not a Neolithic tomb. The purpose of this acoustic mastery may have been deeply spiritual. Research in neuroacoustics has shown that exposure to frequencies around 110 Hz can significantly alter brain activity, quieting the language centers and potentially inducing states of meditation, heightened focus, or even trance. This same understanding of sound is found across the world, embedded in the grand staircases of Mayan pyramids like Chichen Itza. A hand clap at the base of the main pyramid steps does not produce a normal echo. Instead, it returns as a perfect chirping sound, a mimicry of the sacred Quetzal bird. This sonic illusion, a product of the precise spacing and angle of the steps, was clearly intentional, a way to make the very structure speak with a divine voice. Modern architects, with all our knowledge of physics and computer modeling, have tried to replicate these effects. We can build rooms with excellent acoustics, but we cannot easily recreate the specific, consciousness-altering resonance of the Oracle Room or the symbolic avian echo of the pyramid. We lack the intuitive, holistic knowledge that guided the ancient artisans, who saw sound not just as vibration, but as a spiritual force to be woven directly into their stone canvases. This profound sensory manipulation reveals a civilization that did not separate science from spirit, but fused them into a single, powerful technology of the mind. Carved into the ceiling of a forgotten chapel in the Dendera temple complex is a map of the night sky that should not exist. The Dendera zodiac is not a simple pattern of stars. It is a sophisticated bas-relief chart depicting the constellations with a precision that baffles historians. This circular stone canvas shows the familiar figures of Taurus the bull and Libra the scales, but their positions tell a complex story, one that encodes a knowledge of celestial mechanics thought to be beyond the ancient Egyptians. The most startling feature is the zodiac's apparent depiction of the precession of the equinoxes, a slow, grand wobble in the Earth's rotation that causes the position of the stars to shift over a cycle of nearly 26,000 years. Recognizing this cycle requires meticulous, long-term observation of the heavens, generation after generation recording subtle shifts in the stars. How could they have measured this imperceptible drift across millennia without precise optical instruments? The conventional explanation suggests the carving is a symbolic representation, not a scientific chart, and that its alignment is coincidental or based on borrowed knowledge from other cultures. Yet the specificity of the constellations and their relationships challenges this view. The methods used to create such an accurate celestial snapshot remain completely unknown. Was this the culmination of a secret school of priest astronomers who guarded their observational secrets for centuries? Or does it point to a lost technology for mapping the heavens, a system of sighting tools and mathematical calculation that has left no other trace? This ancient sky map forces us to look upward and wonder just how deeply they understood the cosmic clockwork and what other celestial truths they carved into stone, waiting for a future age to recognize their genius. A single coin can rewrite the story of a continent. Tucked away among the stone tools and shell beads at a Native American coastal settlement in Maine, archaeologists uncovered something that did not belong: a small, worn silver coin. This was the Maine penny, and its origin was unmistakably Norse, minted during the reign of King Olaf Kyrre in the late 11th century. On its own, such a find could be easily dismissed as a hoax or a modern contamination, perhaps dropped by a collector centuries later. But this coin does not stand alone. It is a solitary piece of metallic evidence that fits perfectly into a much larger puzzle being slowly assembled. We now know the Norse built a settlement at Elance Oaks Meadows in Newfoundland, 1,000 miles to the north, around the year 1000. The discovery of a Norse coin so far south, deep within a thriving Native American trade network, suggests these transatlantic contacts were not brief, isolated landings. They were part of a more complex web of exploration and exchange. This numismatic mystery challenges the clean, simple narrative of Columbus discovering the New World in 1492. It paints a messier, more intriguing picture of sporadic contact across the Atlantic centuries earlier. How did this coin travel from a Norse mint to the coast of Maine? Was it carried by a Norse explorer who ventured further south than we ever realized, a souvenir of a journey into unknown waters? Or was it passed from hand to hand through indigenous trade routes, moving slowly south from a chance encounter in the north, its true origin a mystery even to its final owners? The Maine penny is a quiet but profound testament to the reality of pre-Columbian transatlantic voyages, forcing us to continuously revise our understanding of ancient seafaring technology and the astonishing distances our ancestors were willing to travel into the unknown. The human skull is a fragile vessel, yet ancient hands dared to open it with astonishing success. In the highlands of pre-Columbian Peru, archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of skulls bearing clean, deliberate holes, a procedure known as trepanation. This was not a ritual performed on the dead, but a sophisticated form of brain surgery on living patients. The evidence for this is etched into the bone itself, in the smooth, rounded edges of the openings that show clear signs of new bone growth, proof that the individual survived the operation and healed for months or even years afterward. What is truly staggering is the success rate. Studies of these skulls suggest that as many as 80% of patients survived the procedure, a statistic that would challenge field surgeons even during the American Civil War, thousands of years later. These surgeons used simple tools made of obsidian and bronze to scrape or cut through the skull, meticulously avoiding the delicate membranes protecting the brain. They were likely treating head injuries, relieving pressure from skull fractures, or perhaps even attempting to cure what they perceived as spiritual ailments. Their understanding of anatomy, sterilization, and post-operative care must have been profound, yet the specifics of their methods are a complete mystery to us. How did they manage infection without antibiotics? How did they control bleeding and pain? This mastery of the human body was not confined to South America. Ancient Indian texts, the Sushruta Samhita, describe complex plastic surgery procedures in vivid detail. They outline techniques for reconstructing noses amputated as punishment, using skin grafts from the patient's own cheek. They document cataract surgery, the removal of bladder stones, and even early principles of anesthesia using herbal concoctions. The text reads like a modern medical manual, yet it was compiled over 2,000 years ago. We can read the instructions, but the practical, hands-on skill, the nuanced touch required to perform such operations with only primitive tools, is a form of knowledge that cannot be fully captured in words. It was a wisdom passed from teacher to student, a living tradition that has since been broken. These ancient medical miracles force a humbling realization. Our ancestors were not just engineers of stone and metal, but also engineers of the human body, possessing a practical, life-saving science that we are only now, with all our technology, beginning to fully appreciate and, in some cases, still struggling to match. A map drawn on gazelle skin in 1513 should not contain the world it does. The Piri Reis map, created by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, is a fragment that has ignited one of the most enduring controversies in the history of exploration. The section that survives depicts the western coasts of Africa and Europe, and the eastern shores of South America with a familiarity we would expect. But it is the southernmost part of the map that defies all logic. It shows a landmass connected to South America, a coastline that bears a startling resemblance to Queen Maud Land in Antarctica, a continent that would not be officially discovered for another 300 years. This alone would be remarkable, but the map's true mystery lies in its details. The depiction of this southern land is not a crude guess. It shows river systems, mountain ranges, and a coastline that, according to modern seismic surveys, is hidden beneath thousands of feet of ice. Admiral Reis himself wrote notes on the map, explaining that he was not the original source of this information. He claimed to have compiled his work from 20 older source maps, some of which dated back to the time of Alexander the Great. This admission points to a terrifying possibility. The map is not a product of 16th century knowledge, but a copy of a copy, a faded echo of a much older, global cartographic tradition. The most baffling claim, one that modern geology seems to support, is that the map shows Antarctica as it would appear without its ice cap. The last time that continent was ice-free was millions of years ago, in a time long before any human civilization we recognize. How could ancient mapmakers have known the shape of a land buried under a mile of ice for eons? Skeptics offer compelling counter-arguments, suggesting the landmass is merely a speculative extension of South America, or a misplaced representation of a different, warmer coastline. Yet the correlation between the subglacial topography and the map's features is difficult to dismiss entirely. This single piece of parchment forces a confrontation with our timeline. It suggests that a sophisticated, seafaring culture with the ability to chart the entire globe may have risen and fallen in a forgotten age, leaving only a few cryptic charts that survived long enough to be copied by a Turkish admiral before vanishing forever. Their world and the full extent of their impossible knowledge is a secret the ice continues to keep. These scattered pieces of a global puzzle force us to confront a difficult truth about history. We often visualize technological progress as a straight, rising line from primitive to advanced, a steady climb from stone tools to silicon chips. But what if that line is not straight at all? What if it is a spiral or a series of peaks and valleys, with entire summits of achievement lost in the fog of time? The evidence is no longer confined to one mysterious culture or a single golden age. From the self-healing concrete of Rome to the nanotechnology of Damascus and the acoustic engineering of Malta, these are not isolated flukes. They are echoes from different corners of the ancient world, each one a testament to a different kind of genius, yet all pointing toward a similar, startling conclusion. The gap between their accomplishments and their presumed tools is the very heart of the mystery. We look at the pyramids and see only ramps and copper chisels, a toolkit that seems woefully inadequate for the task. We study the Antikythera Mechanism and see gears that should not exist for another 1,000 years. This consistent disconnect is what makes these artifacts so compelling and so disruptive. They are not just old, they are anachronisms, objects that feel out of their proper time, embodying principles of physics, chemistry, and engineering that we thought were our own modern discoveries. This pattern challenges the very foundation of how we write history, suggesting that innovation is not a guaranteed, cumulative process. It can be fragile, localized, and tragically ephemeral. A single library burning, a trade route collapsing, a master craftsperson dying without an apprentice, these small events can erase a technology for a millennium. To truly understand these ancient wonders, we must first let go of our ingrained assumptions of superiority and linear progress. We must be willing to see the past not as a simpler time we have surpassed, but as a landscape dotted with brilliant, isolated peaks of knowledge, whose heights we are only now, with all our instruments, beginning to measure again.